Hey there. Let's talk about something we've all struggled with at some point. Saying no. I know, it's tough. Whether it's to a friend asking for a favor, a coworker piling on extra tasks, or even just saying no to ourselves when we feel overwhelmed. It feels like we're hardwired to say yes, and then we end up feeling guilty when we don't. But let me tell you, learning to say no is one of the most important skills you can develop for your mental health, your productivity, and even your relationships. Today, I want to help you master the art of saying no, without guilt. Let's get into it. Let's start with why it's so difficult to say no. For a lot of us, we were raised to be agreeable. From childhood, we're taught that saying yes makes us likable, dependable, and in some ways, it's a path to acceptance. Saying no, on the other hand, often feels like we're rejecting someone, letting them down, or even creating conflict. And I get it. Nobody wants to feel like the bad guy. But here's the thing. If we keep saying yes when we really want to say no, we end up overcommitted, burned out, and sometimes even resentful. It's like we're giving away little pieces of ourselves every time we agree to something that doesn't serve us. So why do we still do it? It's guilt. We feel guilty. We don't want to disappoint others, and we fear they might think less of us. But what about how we feel? What about our own needs, our energy, and our time? Saying no is actually a powerful tool for protecting ourselves, and that's something we all deserve. Let's flip the script for a second and talk about what saying no really means. Saying no isn't about pushing people away or being selfish. It's about setting boundaries. It's about knowing your limits and prioritizing the things that truly matter to you. Think about it. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to something more important. Whether it's more time for yourself, focusing on your mental health, or just having the space to breathe, saying no is like reclaiming your energy. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world are really good at saying no. They understand that to get ahead, they can't say yes to everything. They have to be selective, and you can be too. So, why does it feel so bad when we do say no? Let's dig into that guilt. A lot of the time, we feel guilty because we don't want to disappoint others. We're afraid of what they might think or how they might react. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you said no to someone, and they actually got angry with you? Probably not as often as you'd think, right? Most of the time, it's all in our heads. We build up this fear of rejection, but in reality, people are usually more understanding than we give them credit for. And if someone does get upset because you said no, that says more about them than it does about you. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your own well-being, and that sometimes means saying no. Trust me, you can't please everyone, and that's okay. Alright, so now that we know why saying no is hard, let's talk about how to do it. Because there's definitely a right way to say no without feeling like a jerk and without guilt. First, be clear and honest. If someone asks you to do something and you know you can't or don't want to, don't beat around the bush. Be upfront. You can say something like, "I'd love to help, but I'm already committed to something else." Or, "I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to have to pass." You don't have to give a long-winded explanation or justify yourself. A simple, polite no is enough. Next, practice saying no with kindness. Just because you're saying no doesn't mean you have to be harsh. You can be empathetic while still holding your boundary. For example, if a friend invites you out and you're feeling overwhelmed, you could say, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I really need some downtime. Maybe next time?" And here's a tip that changed the game for me. When you're on the fence, give yourself time to think. Don't feel pressured to say yes or no immediately. It's perfectly fine to say, "Let me get back to you on that." This way, you're giving yourself space to really consider whether it's something you want to take on, rather than feeling cornered into a yes. Now, let's talk about the benefits of saying no. Because, let me tell you, once you start mastering this, your life will change. First of all, you'll have more time for the things that matter to you, whether it's spending time with family, working on personal projects, or just taking care of yourself. Saying no gives you the freedom to focus on what's important. You'll also feel more in control. When you're not constantly overcommitting, you're in the driver's seat of your life. You're not being pulled in every direction. And with that comes less stress, less burnout, and way more peace of mind. And finally, you'll gain respect. Yes, really. People respect those who know their boundaries and are confident enough to enforce them. It shows that you value yourself and your time, and that's something people will start to notice. So, here's what I want you to take away from this. Saying no is not selfish. It's necessary. You deserve to have boundaries. You deserve to prioritize yourself, and it's okay to say no. In fact, it's powerful. The more you practice, the easier it will get, and I promise you the guilt will start to fade. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to live a fulfilling life, and that starts with being true to yourself. So next time you're faced with a request or an obligation that doesn't feel right, don't be afraid to say no. You've got this. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, no is a complete sentence.